CEO, CFO, CIOs, they want measurable value, right? They want to be able to say, hey, the employees using this application are able to drive better results and outcomes. Where are we getting the most efficiency or better outcomes? And then how can we deploy those processes across more teams and departments?
So welcome to the Shift Code, where I have conversations with business leaders about transformation, innovation, leadership. And today, my guest is Anne Raimondi. She's the Chief Operating Officer of Asana.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having
Asana
me.
is a leading, how would you call it? Collaborative
Collaborative work management platform.
work management platform that many in our audience who are in project management, project professionals, of course, know very well. Very focused now on the collaboration between AI and humans. So first of all, explain to us what is Asana's mission today. How does it work? And explain to us a little bit about these SaaS companies, how they're organized, how they've been so successful, so coveted by PE firms, by investors, and why, and how is it
How's it evolving
managing a
today?
SaaS company
Yeah.
compared to other companies?
Yeah. So maybe just starting with our mission remains the same with some additions now that there's AI, but our founders, Dustin and JR, really built the company to solve the problem of how do you make it more effortless for people, teams to work together, and then certainly larger organizations, right? I always say to our team, no customer tells us, oh my gosh, I don't have the problem that you solve. Like, I know exactly what everybody's doing all the time. People work beautifully together. What we really want to do is really unlock human potential and make it much more fun and easy to collaborate, and get rid of what we call sort of work about work. And now with AI,
Work about work.
work about work, how
Like busy work? What is it?
busy work. You think about how much of team time is actually coordination and
Right.
not true collaboration. And so now with AI, that problem or opportunity really is how can human and AI collaborate together to really achieve goals faster,
Yeah,
better.
we'll get there, but let's talk a little bit about a SaaS company.
Yes.
What is
So,
it? Yeah.
so essentially, why does SaaS grow so fast? It's a subscription model, right? And so it really democratized and access to enterprise applications or productivity applications in a way that either an individual, a small team, or an entire organization could buy much faster and easier. So reduced a lot of friction from more traditional processes of buying and implementing software, made it a lot easier for customers to have predictability around budget because they could buy either on a monthly basis or an annual basis. Um, and so that really fueled a lot of growth. And people will hear terms like PLG, product-led growth, self-serve. Like people could try a product, see that it worked, swipe a credit card, and really sort of get the benefit that same day or that same week.
Did you start as a B2B company or
We
initially?
did. Asana was
Yeah.
always solving the kind of business-to-business problem, and really sort of team-based. And so a lot of our growth really was team leaders had a pain point. They knew there was a better way to collaborate and coordinate than in spreadsheets and docs and email and messaging. And so they really spearheaded, okay, I want my whole team working more transparently together. And then as they saw efficiency and productivity, they shared it with other teammates across the organization. And so we grew in many ways bottoms up, right? People really loving the product and then sharing it and evangelizing it. Certainly over the last few years, we've also been growing our enterprise in upmarket business where department or C-level executives are trying to drive transformation and they want everyone working together in the same platform.
Right.
And so that's also fueled a
Did
lot
you
of our
initially
growth.
face the resistance from IT and
Yeah,
not loving that employees themselves would choose the tools, right?
Yeah, I think that's gone through cycles.
Right.
I think, and certainly the pandemic era fueled a lot of support for employees to pick the applications that they were excited about and could drive productivity. And then sort of post-pandemic, we also saw a swung the other way where organizations were looking up and saying, oh my gosh, why do we have 36 applications that kind of at the high level do the same thing? And then I think fueled by AI now and data and security, larger organizations definitely are in the mode of looking to consolidate because the real value of having employees collaborate in a platform um, is lessened if they're in different platforms, even if they can integrate, right? At the end of the
That's
day,
from a
yeah,
client standpoint, as
right,
a CEO, because
yep,
you just said it's more predictable,
yep,
paying a subscription, but it's just like as an individual, when suddenly I realize how much I pay every month, and some
yes,
apps now help you find out,
right.
because
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
forget, right? So
yes,
there's a lot of anxiety also on the C-suite, I'm assuming, of paying because you can predict and you cannot, because after 3 years, you see the rates go up, and you see more and more of those incompressible expenses going into subscriptions. So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you make sure? Because it's hard sometimes for CEOs to even know if the applications are actually used or if they're useful.
right.
So
And
how do you convince them?
I think usage is just one metric. I
Right.
think what we're really seeing with CEOs, CFOs, CIOs is they want measurable value, right? They want to be able to say, hey, the employees using this application are able to drive better results and outcomes. And so that's also a lot of what we've been working on doing is just show customers what's happening in Asana, but what they're achieving.
How do you know it, or how
Yeah.
do you do that?
So
Is it like the customer success team doing that? How does it work?
certainly for our larger accounts, having our post-sales teams working with customers, but some features that we've built into Asana include goals management, and so tying tasks, projects, portfolios to company level or departmental level goals, and really showing that tracking and the
So
progress.
linking to OKRs,
Exactly,
stuff like that.
exactly,
Yeah.
and showing the progress against those. And then also being able to compare across different teams, and different workflows and being able to help customers sort of benchmark, "Hey, where are we getting the most efficiency or better outcomes? And then how can we deploy those processes across more teams and departments?"
So let's move to AI for a second. So you're um, developing this concept that AI and humans work together. What is the true reality behind that? I had one of my guests not so long ago is a senior partner at BCG, and I was asking him, what do CEOs actually ask you to do when it comes to AI? And he was telling me, well, most of the work is frankly productivity related, and CEOs are trying to reduce headcount thanks to AI. So, what are you observing? Do you actually truly believe in this complementarity between AI and humans, or do you think, in fact, a lot of the task would be eliminated?
Yeah, I think it depends on the kind of work. We actually see with our customers that what they're doing is not eliminating whole roles. What they're really doing is in AI automated or field workflows or deploying, our early versions of teammates is they're taking those steps of different processes that are very manual and repetitive, and using AI for those parts of the task or those specific tasks, freeing people up to do more creative work. There's also processes where, call it like QA, where we have a lot of customers use Asana for what we call intake workflows, right? Requests between teams, whether that's requests to the creative team, a creative brief, whether that's requests into IT. And so many of those, if you think about without automation, there's a lot of human back and forth, right? Someone sends a request to a colleague, and the colleague's like, it's incomplete, or do you mean this? Do you mean that? But underlying all of it, companies already have sort of processes and guidelines on what kinds of requests get approved, what should be prioritized, as well as prior requests that were really well done. And so AI is great at taking all of that and sort of improving these requests without the human back and forth. And so those are things that we've seen sort of really drive productivity as well
Do you
as
have
better
numbers like the
collaboration.
percentage of productivity
Yeah, we
yeah.
measure them by customer and the workflows that they're automating. And so we've seen one of our customers, Clear Channel, really kind of redesigned a lot of processes that their sales team was requesting marketing materials. And it's saved them sort of, hours and hours. Plus, they're just getting higher quality product back and forth between their sales and marketing teams. So we really work with our customers to measure by initiative.
And did you manage to measure how much work was saved? Like how many work hours and
In certain
yeah.
cases, we do look at, like, the total number of hours eliminated. Well, I mean, in some cases, basically, like, shortened, the time to complete a process from, 6 weeks down to, like, days, and
So
so those
faster.
are yeah, much faster, much more efficient.
Yeah. Because, one of the key challenges we have is to make sure that the productivity gains that AI allow will trickle down across the economy, right? It's so important. So you feel Asana can play that role?
I do. I think the other thing that we're seeing, coming back to part of your question, which is, "Hey, does it really work?" And certainly executives have the objective of efficiency and productivity. We just recently did a large-scale survey of 9,000 knowledge workers and executives in the US, UK, Germany, Japan, Australia, and it was really interesting because executives are very focused on driving productivity and efficiency.
Yep.
Employees actually are really interested in, and believe that AI is gonna automate, almost half of what they do today, and they want to embrace it. I think there is sort of a fear of, like, "Does my job go away?" But where we see the sort of gap between employees and employers or executives is really the desire to have more clarity on how is the organization going to embrace AI? What are the guidelines? What's the context? What's the training that they're going to provide their employees? And what's the expected outcomes? So we really see there's a great opportunity for what we think of as like forward-thinking organizations and executives to focus beyond the productivity and think about, "Hey, how is this going to accelerate growth of our organization? How is
Right.
this gonna create new career opportunities?" And I think that would
Yeah,
really
you're
then
raising a
close
very
that
good
gap.
point. It's, I
Yeah.
think, very important that leadership shows that commitment to use AI for the benefits of everyone,
Yeah.
because otherwise the suspicion that it's all
Oh,
about
yes.
reducing headcount will basically slow down adoption.
Yes. One of our customers shared what I thought was just, like, such a great story, which was, they had done a survey, and this is a customer of ours in Europe. They had done a survey of their employees asking, like, "What AI tools are people using?" And the self-reported was like, "Oh, very little." And they were like, "We think people are actually adopting it, on their own." And so they shifted from just asking, "What are people using?" to saying, "Hey, these are now our company-supported AI tools. Anything else is not gonna be sort of paid for, but not only are these tools and processes supported, we're going to train people, on the AI tools, we're gonna train people on the AI fundamentals, and we're actually gonna kinda reward and recognize teams and people that are driving innovation with AI." And they said the response was completely different than when they were asking, like, what AI tools, because people were afraid.
Of not being compliant. Yeah.
Yes, and also kinda getting in trouble
Oh,
or
sure.
or
Because they're
feeling
using
like.
tools that are not really
Yes,
allowed on the side.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
and as part of that, I thought it was really, insightful that these executives then said to their employees, "Hey, we're gonna be really real with you. Some roles in the organization today, we expect them to go away completely because of AI. A good number of roles we expect to be transformed by AI, and then what we're excited about is the roles that are gonna be created because of AI, and we want everybody on the journey with us." And I think that's such a, enlightened approach that hopefully more organizations are taking.
If we very simplistically split the workforce in a large economy in three buckets, right? So the executives, middle management, and more entry-level positions. Which ones do you think would be the most affected?
Right now, I think it's portions of the entry level because, if you think about, roles, whether that's like entry level sales roles, entry level customer support roles, entry level content writing roles, many of those are being replaced by AI, translation, localization. Um, I think there's shifts in middle management because I think really the key key skill sets that are going to be valued in the future are managers who can manage humans and AI and think about transforming work. Um, it's a smaller population of executives. I think executives, as long as they are sort of leading growth and change, so far their roles are not as disrupted. But right now, it does feel like it's
You,
at
you don't
the,
see executives adopting AI in their own day-to-day jobs.
we actually see quite a bit of
I use AI a
adoption.
ton.
Yes,
I have to be
yes.
honest. Yeah.
I think what we're seeing is a lot of executives use it for personal productivity, especially because executives are, just think about how great AI is at like synthesizing things or giving updates. I mean, I use it a ton. Our Asana sort of AI summary of like what I've missed, I need to, what's I'm
When
blocking, and
people
yeah,
tell you
exactly.
read from the
Yeah,
bottom and there's a
yeah,
long email
right,
thread.
right, exactly. Like
Yeah.
those are brilliant, and it's like these are the most important things you need to do today. And so I think executives we see use a lot for personal productivity, but the unlock is how can they drive transformation for their organization?
What advice would you give to people who are currently in college, soon in the workforce, looking for jobs, given what you just said?
So, given what I just said about sort of entry level jobs in, you know, call it mid-sized to larger organizations, I actually think there's such an opportunity for people graduating from college, um, to be very entrepreneurial in this environment with AI. I sit on the board of a company called Gusto, which supports, entrepreneurs with payroll, benefits, financial systems for, solopreneurs or very small businesses. And AI is just rapidly transforming sort of all the things that you need to do to start a business so that people who are very creative, want to put a product out in the world can do that so much faster. So I'm actually excited that there it may be a renaissance in, entrepreneurship and people being really creative and being able to get their businesses to be
But not
successful.
everybody can create a company, raise money. It's
True,
not for everyone.
there's lots of businesses that maybe don't need, money to be raised. They don't need to be like sort of like tech
You're not
capital,
worried
but
by the proliferation of gig jobs. Like, for instance, in China now, I think we have 200 million people in the gig economy out of 1 billion people in the workforce. So how does it play out? Like, do you think we would see more precarity, or do you think it's just, everybody's going to be an entrepreneur and live the dream? And
yeah, I mean that so maybe a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but I do think there are going to be policy decisions that, governments need to make to support the transformation, and to create more opportunity for more people so that there doesn't, have sort of further divides of who's benefiting from sort of all this innovation versus people who aren't. But I do feel, in talking to I happen to, be involved with the Stanford Business School and some of the courses with both undergrads and business school students, and it's been really fun to see how actually excited they are about the opportunities being created by AI.
in the end, the opportunity for people who are in college is to really understand all the current tools, right? Because many companies, many executives don't know. They
Yeah,
know ChatGPT. That's all they know,
right.
right? So you can also bring this to your companies and
Yes, yeah, there's a whole generation right now that actually is AI first, just like there was a generation that
yeah,
was mobile first that also,
exactly.
transformed
Yeah.
organizations. So,
So there's a bright future, even if you
yes.
don't want to create
Yes,
your own company right now. Yeah.
and I think absolutely, like, I'm not saying, like, everyone should go out and be an entrepreneur, but um, I think people coming out of college or even high school that are good systems thinkers, really understand customers, are good communicators, like, those skills still are going to be so important in any size organization.
Yeah. Um, so you alluded a little bit to hybrid teams, right? Made of people, made of agents. What impact does it have on how the workplace would be organized? Like, should we treat those agents as actual employees, onboard them? Should they have bosses? As a manager, will you have virtual employees that you should treat like people in a way? How does that work? Like,
Yeah,
how do you
those are
think about
such
that?
great questions. I do think governance and policies are super important as more agents are deployed. I mean, right now, back to earlier in our conversation, every SaaS application is introducing agents. I think a lot of our customers ask, like, how are the agents going to be coordinated across platforms? But fundamentally, in talking to our customers and the research that we did, I think um, governance is a really important part of making these decisions because right now, employees are saying they're not sure who's accountable when AI doesn't work. Some people think it's the person who deployed it. Some people think it's IT. Some people think it's the makers of the application. Some people think it's the LLMs. And so even just the policies around, hey, who's accountable? What's the QA or human in the loop process? What's the approval process to then fully deploy
What is your,
agents?
like, if you think
Yeah,
down the road, do you think it's going to be the manager? Like AI agents will be assigned to managers who will be accountable for the
I think
usage of
that
this,
is
or
the
is it more like a tech would be responsible or
no,
someone,
I do think you want accountability still at a person level,
right?
right?
At a team level?
At a team
Yeah.
level. And then I think what's also important is transparency on how the AI is making decisions, right? Ability to audit, hey, how did it make a decision on that task? What were the processes and steps? And so that is a lot of what we're also designing in Asana is that the AI teammates are transparent on the steps that they're taking. And then people who are managing that AI teammate can give them feedback on those steps so that they improve and they remember over time and they get better. But it's transparent. And it was interesting. That transparency actually has really interesting side effects. One of our head of communications was sharing with me, she'd deployed an AI teammate to help develop briefing docs for executives coming to do different interviews. And so she was training the AI teammate, but it's transparent to the other people on her team. And they were saying, like, seeing how she gave the teammate feedback helped them improve their own work because they saw her thinking process. And so we're just in this, I think we're in this space right now where people are learning so fast what AI can do and how people can not only adapt to it, but learn and grow and get better as a result of it.
Yeah, if we think of the what will stay with the humans
Yes.
and maybe think a little bit less about the tasks and more about agency,
Yes.
the accountability of your own AI teammates is something that won't go away, right?
Yes.
So maybe that's a good
Yeah.
way of thinking of the workforce and the workplace going forward.
Yes. The other thing we're seeing is AI teammates are actually quite fun to brainstorm with, and they take feedback really well. And they'll iterate and iterate and iterate. And so things that we might not do with colleagues, where you're like, I actually want 14 versions of that. We kind of, we censor ourselves a bit, and we're like, give me 5 best versions. AI is totally happy if you're like, do it again, and it wants to improve. And so we actually see people getting sort of more generative and more creative because they're not holding back on the feedback and, getting the end output to a really great state.
Do you study at Asana the interaction between people and AI? Are people polite with AI? Are they rude?
Oh, yeah, that's a great. We haven't specifically studied that, but in general, it's probably more anecdotal. Most people I talk to say that they're pretty polite to the
Yeah.
AI and
We
say
last
please
year
and
at the
thank
Master of
you.
the Skill, there was a panel of young professionals, and they were very interestingly saying that they were polite with AI because they wanted AI to be happy with them, to help them
Yes.
more.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I sort of jokingly say, that when the day comes and they're managing us, I want them to remember that it was very, very nice.
That's very interesting. Let's shift a little bit to enterprise agility because, in a way, a lot of the things you're doing enable teams to work in a more agile way, right? Less silos, maybe more empowerment. What do you think the C-suite or the executive level is really talking about when they speak about enterprise agility? What are they looking for? What are you looking for as a CEO of your own company?
I think, and I'll reflect both what we're thinking about as well as what our customers tell us. And it really fundamentally is, how can they get their products or services out to market faster? How can they innovate faster? How can they make better decisions on what to stop doing, and what to double or triple down on? And
Right.
then
So resource
shift the
allocations, being
exactly.
more focused
Yes.
on the outside.
Yes.
Is it
Um,
a lot about empowerment, or what scares the executive level when it comes to agility?
I think there's a couple of things. I think one is that they're not agile enough, right, versus competition, as well as, sort of startup competition and sort of AI first companies. I think the other is the ability to do change management and how much change employees can absorb. And so those often are the things that executives are balancing. And so I think enterprise agility is, if you break it down, and you all are the experts on this, but just fundamentally agile is like, how do you move faster on, de-risking something, right? And break it down to steps and get feedback along the way. So whatever is put out is, going to be adopted, whether internally or externally. And I do think that's where executives are trying to figure out, hey, how do I, in this world of increasing innovation and speed, how do I make sure my organization can be not only responsive, but actually proactive to that?
Right.
And so what we're seeing is a lot of organizations trying to, first and foremost, make sure that employees know what work matters, right? And so back to, hey, how does work ladder up to the most important company goals and outcomes? And can it, on a daily basis, without somebody looking over their shoulder, can an employee make good decisions of what to prioritize? Do they know what matters? And do they have transparency around that?
Yeah, we've actually researched what executives mean by enterprise
Yeah.
agility, and that's exactly what you're saying. It's a combination of being reactive to the outside world, being able to pivot, but at the same time making sure that the mainstays of the strategy are still there, right? It's not about doing whatever you want. It's about reacting to change, going faster, being able to react and manage disruption better, but at the same time making sure you're still on purpose, you're still focused on your strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That North Star, like, is
Yeah.
everyone moving in that direction?
So, uh, how do you think Asana can help with that?
Yeah, well, one thing we're excited about, you mentioned sort of resource management and allocation is, I think, in the world of human and AI is, can executives have transparency on where their human and AI capital is being deployed? And then can they, if they want to redeploy it, can they easily do that and, scenario plan and then see what the subsequent changes need to be? So we're investing quite a bit in sort of resource management in the era of AI, just to, again, um, give executives more visibility on, like, if they make some of these trade-offs, what are the implications, and be able to
How would
plan
that
for that.
actually look like
Yeah,
technically?
so we already have the ability right now, we have workloads in Asana. We have customers that are doing sort of resource management. I think we're adding AI teammates into that visibility. And so being able to say, hey, these are our company objectives. These are the most important initiatives, and portfolios of work that nest up to that. But if a priority changes and we want to add something in, what's that impact gonna be on people and AI resources?
Do you think Asana is more effective when it comes to managing operations or projects?
That's a great question. I think we think of it, I don't know that we think about it as, like, operations or projects. I think we think about it more as the total body of work that either a team or department, or in some cases, an entire organization is doing. Hence, thinking about it as, like, work management, not just project management.
Yeah, right. But it feels that maybe because projects typically involve teams that could be in multiple locations, sometimes not part of the same company. You have like large projects involve like hundreds of companies with different cultures. So maybe this is even more important in the project economy than when we talk about operations and
Yeah,
SaaS, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, last question for you, Anne. So how do you see Asana in 10 years from now? Like, what would success look like for you, for your company? How do you envision a very successful Asana, not only for Asana itself, but in terms of the impact it can have on its clients?
Yeah, I think what we envision success as is that organizations of all sizes are better equipped to really manage, the sort of most important resources that they have, which I think in the future is the combination of people and AI, right? Payroll and compute in a way that helps them achieve their goals even faster. And that in the process, the humans involved are more fulfilled, connected to the purpose and really feel like and see that their work matters. Um, Earlier in the conversation, you talked about sort of the SaaS model, so I wanted to come back to that in my answer too, which is I think as a company and where the whole industry is going, but certainly where we're focused on as well, is sort of the future of SaaS is gonna be a combination of how we monetize today and sort of seat and subscription and then consumption. And we really believe that consumption around sort of compute for AI will even better tie ROI and measurable value for customers. So we're
So
excited
does it
about
mean
that.
that your business model is going to shift and
Evolve. Yeah,
you'll charge
absolutely.
based on the actual
Yep.
usage of
Yep.
AI agents
Yes,
and
exactly. One thing we could probably all say is like it's an exciting time to be part of this industry.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Anne.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I so enjoyed the conversation.